When you first get started woodworking, you seek out advice from people who've been doing this for a while. Inevitably, those people who've been doing it for a while, well, they've acquired a whole bunch of tools, they've got their shop space totally squared away, they've got a big fancy workbench with miles and miles of use on it. So in the newbie's mind, that equates to, I've got to have that stuff too in order to get started in woodworking. Now, I've been helping woodworkers get into hand tools for years now, and that thought is firmly stuck in their mind, and they look around my shop and they look around my videos and they move into tool buying mode and immediately think I've got to have this tool and this tool and this tool and this tool, and they've never even taken a plane shaving or cut a board with a saw. They're just in tool buying acquisition mode. Then it comes down to, well, I got to have a workbench. I can't build anything until I have a workbench. And then once they have the workbench, well, I got to have a cabinet to put all my tools in just to get started in woodworking. But I'm the first person to say you don't need all that stuff. You can build great furniture, great projects with very few tools. You don't have to have a workbench, and your shop space could be just a corner of a bedroom somewhere. But you know, that's real easy for me to say when I'm standing here amongst my well-appointed shop, all of my lovely, sexy tools, and this fantastic workbench. So I have to ask myself, if I were to totally start over on woodworking, using what I know now, how would I get started? If it were all gone, and I was starting with a blank shop and no tools at all. If I had nothing, I would start by adding just a few basic tools. A basic hardware store saw, a jack plane, maybe a couple clamps, a square, a brace. The complete tool list for this semester is included below, but you'll see that there's not a lot to it. I would find or build just a very, very simple workbench. I hesitate to even call it a workbench because I'm just looking for a flat surface I can clamp some stuff to. And then I would proceed to build some useful shop aids and appliances that not only will make it easier to work in my new space, but it will strengthen my fundamental skills. And I do mean fundamentals. You see, this orientation semester is the product of running the hand tool school for 7 years. It's a lot about what I've learned over those 7 years, and maybe where semester one possibly fell short, where I made assumptions and I glossed over some of the basic stuff that those of you who have never picked up a hand tool before, have never built anything before, you might be going, wait a minute, how did you, or why did you? This is what orientation semester is going to do for you. It's going to get back to basics and make sure we don't gloss over those little things that leave you wanting more information. Now, there are a lot of lessons to be learned in building your very first project, but sometimes just picking up the chisel, plane, and saw can be the biggest obstacle you face, and that's what holds so many of us back. So in this semester, we will not only focus on the tips and tricks for setting up and using your tools for the very first time, but we'll build some essential projects for your hand tool shop that will become indispensable in the years to come. 4 projects to be specific. First, a workbench using only big box store construction lumber. Minimal joinery, but a great intro to mortise and tenons, boring holes, bridle joints, and milling stock flat. Next, a pair of bench hooks based on an old Finnish educational system that will really refine your chisel skills and make really beneficial workbench aids. Then we'll move on to making a marking gauge that will be essential for any casework, any furniture that you build from now on. It's going to tackle through highly precise through mortises and an angled wedge mortise to boot. Finally, we'll wrap it up with a toolbox in a Japanese style with a slide out lid. This is all about casework, consistency, milling all your parts to exact size so you end up with a square case. We're going to use butt joints and nails. We're going to talk a lot about the types of nails, when to use wrought nails, when to use cut nails, and when to use ring nails. Well, never use ring nails, just throw those out. But you'll learn a lot along the way in building this little box within the box, and just the basic essentials of building a case, keeping it square, keeping it consistently sized. All of these projects will allow us to strengthen our fundamental skills of using the tools, using the chisels, the planes, and the saws, but also some real basic joinery techniques that can be expanded and used in all of your projects from here on out. Essentially, it's the prequel semester that will take the rough, misshapen ball of clay and turn he or she into an incredible hand tool woodworker.